Thank you so much for watching this powerful story. I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below and share your thoughts. Do you have a similar story of respect or courage? Let's talk about it. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We've got another incredible story lined up for tomorrow that you won't want to miss. Hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when it's live. Your support helps us bring more of these inspiring stories to life. See you in the next one. A deep connection between a soldier and a horse. You won't believe what happened. The sun hung low over London, casting a golden glow on the cobblestone streets outside Buckingham Palace. The excitement in the air was palpable as tourists eagerly buzzed around, hoping to catch a glimpse of the iconic changing of the guard. Cameras flashed, capturing the ceremonial event as visitors gathered to witness the disciplined guards and their majestic horses. Among the crowd stood Thomas Hill, a 67-year-old Vietnam War veteran. He stood tall, his posture straight, and his eyes sharp, yet there was a weight in his soul. Years of memories, both painful and triumphant, were etched into his mind. Thomas had served in the Vietnam War, a time when he lost many friends, faced unimaginable horrors, and emerged stronger, but forever changed. He wore his old military jacket, the medals from his service glinting in the sunlight. The weight of his past was always there, hidden beneath the fabric of his uniform. It wasn't his idea to come here today. His granddaughter Emma had insisted, "Grandpa, you need to get out more." She knew how much he loved horses, and she wanted him to see the royal guard. Horses had always been a source of comfort for Thomas, ever since his time in the war, when the presence of these strong, calm animals provided peace amidst chaos. As the ceremony began, Thomas felt a strange pull, like something was drawing him to the horses. His eyes locked onto one horse in particular, a jet black stallion leading the procession with precision and grace. The horse's name was Titan, and it was known for its impeccable discipline. Thomas couldn't take his eyes off the majestic creature. Then, something extraordinary happened. As Titan approached Thomas, the crowd went silent. The horse stopped. Thomas stood frozen, his heart pounding. The air around him seemed to still as the horse bowed its head in a slow, deliberate motion, as if acknowledging something deeply significant. For a brief moment, time stood still. The crowd gasped in disbelief, and cameras immediately turned to capture the unexpected gesture. Thomas felt a rush of emotions. His mind raced, trying to process what just happened. Titan had recognized him. But how? Why? The question lingered in the air, unanswered, but for Thomas, it felt like a moment of profound connection. He had no explanation, but something deep inside him knew. That bell meant more than just a ceremony. The next day, Thomas Hill couldn't shake the feeling that something extraordinary had happened. The image of Titan, the jet black stallion, bowing to him was burned into his mind. He hadn't been able to explain it the previous day, but deep down, he felt something profound had taken place. Something more than just a ceremonial gesture. Was it a coincidence? Or had that horse truly recognized him? That night, as he lay in bed, the question gnawed at him. He couldn't sleep, his mind replaying that moment over and over, Titan's eyes locking with his, the slow, deliberate bow. It wasn't just an act of respect. There was something deeper, something unspoken between them. But what? Was it his military service, his shared bond with the horse's discipline, or was it something entirely different? By morning, Thomas had made up his mind. He needed answers. His granddaughter Emma had already left for the day, so he went alone. He walked through the bustling streets of London, his steps quick and determined, not allowing his doubts to hold him back. As he approached Buckingham Palace once again, his heart began to race. The ceremony was already in progress. He moved into the same spot he had stood in the day before, his eyes scanning the procession, and there he tightened, leading the way with the same regal posture. Thomas held his breath. Would it happen again? Or had it been a fluke? The seconds ticked by, the crowd still around him, their attention focused on the guards and horses. Titan drew nearer, and Thomas's pulse quickened. Then, to his amazement, Titan stopped. The crowd gasped. Thomas could hardly believe his eyes, but it happened again. Titan bowed, this time even more slowly, deliberately. The crowd was smaller, but their surprise was just as intense as before. The murmurs spread like wildfire. What was happening? A young guard, clearly confused, stepped forward, eyeing Thomas with suspicion. Sir, do you know this horse? He asked. Thomas shook his head, still in shock. No, he said quietly, but it seems like he knows me. The guard frowned, still uncertain, and mentioned that Titan was known for his discipline, a horse who had never done anything like this before. But Thomas knew, deep in his gut, that this wasn't a coincidence. Something special was happening, and he was determined to find out what it was. The next day, as Thomas Hill walked through the busy streets of London, his mind was consumed by the mystery of what had happened with Titan. He couldn't shake the feeling that the horse recognized him, and the more he thought about it, the more he became convinced it wasn't just a coincidence. The bow had been too deliberate, too meaningful. He needed answers. This time, Thomas returned to Buckingham Palace alone, with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. His heart raced as he approached the familiar area, and he could feel the tension building. The changing of the guard ceremony was already underway, but Thomas wasn't interested in the ceremony itself anymore. He had come for one thing: Titan. He positioned himself in the same spot where he'd stood the day before, hoping for another encounter. Minutes passed, and Thomas watched with bated breath as the guards marched, their disciplined steps echoing through the square. Then, like a magnet pulling him in, Titan appeared again. His majestic black coat gleamed in the sunlight, and his movements were as precise as ever. The crowd seemed unaware of the momentous connection about to unfold. Thomas's pulse quickened as Titan drew closer. This time, the anticipation felt like it might swallow him whole. Would it happen again? Or had it been a fluke? The horse's dark eyes locked with his, and just like before, Titan stopped. The crowd gasped. Titan's head lowered, bowing slowly, deliberately, in front of Thomas. The crowd around them reacted with surprise, whispers spreading fast. Some people pulled out their phones to capture the moment, but to Thomas, it felt like time had stopped. This was no ordinary bow. This was something personal. A young guard stepped forward, his tone both curious and skeptical. Sir, do you know this horse? Thomas stood still processing what had just happened. He shook his head slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. No, he said, but it seems like he knows me. The guard furrowed his brow. Titan has never done anything like this, he said, clearly baffled. But Thomas wasn't shaken. He knew, deep inside, that there was more to this than a simple ceremony. The bond between him and Titan was undeniable. Something deeper was at play here. The mystery was growing, and Thomas was determined to uncover the truth behind Titan's recognition. There was more to this story than anyone knew, and he wasn't about to let it go. The days after that second encounter with Titan were a blur of questions and confusion for Thomas Hill. The more he thought about it, the more convinced he became that the horse's behavior wasn't a random act. There was something about that bow, something deep and meaningful, and he needed to know why Titan had chosen him. Why had this horse, so disciplined and revered, singled him out in such a profound way? Determined to get answers, Thomas returned to Buckingham Palace the next day, hoping to find some clarity. The ceremony was already in full swing as he arrived, but his eyes immediately sought out Titan, the jet-black stallion that had left such a lasting impression on him. As he waited, the air seemed thick with anticipation. He wasn't sure what he expected, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't leaving until he figured this out. Minutes passed, the sound of the guards' boots clicking on the cobblestones filling the air. Then there he was, Titan, leading the procession just as he had the day before. Thomas's heart skipped a beat. Could it really happen again? Would the horse bow once more, or had it been a fluke? He stood still, his breath catching in his throat as Titan approached. As the horse drew near, time seemed to slow down. Titan's eyes locked with his, and for a moment, everything else in the world disappeared. The crowds, the noise, the ceremony, none of it mattered. Titan stopped, his powerful frame still, and bowed again. This time, the bow was even more deliberate, more profound than before. A hush fell over the crowd, and gasps of surprise echoed in the air. Thomas's pulse raced, the weight of the moment sinking in. This was no coincidence. There was something here, something far beyond a ceremonial gesture. A young guard, his expression a mix of confusion and curiosity, stepped forward. Sir, do you know this horse? He asked, clearly puzzled by the sight in front of him. Thomas shook his head, still trying to process what was happening. No, he replied softly, but it seems like he knows me. The guard looked at him, clearly unsure of what to make of it. Titan has never done anything like this before, the guard said. But Thomas knew, deep in his heart, that this wasn't just about the ceremony. There was a deeper connection here, one that went beyond explanation. And now he was more determined than ever to uncover the truth. The mystery surrounding Titan's bow continued to haunt Thomas Hill. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to the horse's actions, something deeper than a simple act of respect. It wasn't just a ceremonial gesture. Titan's bow felt personal, like the horse had recognized something within him. The more Thomas thought about it, the more he knew he had to understand why. But how? Determined to find answers, Thomas returned to Buckingham Palace the next day, this time with a clearer sense of purpose. As he stood in the same spot, his eyes scanned the horses and guards, searching for Titan. His heart pounded in anticipation. The ceremony was underway, but for Thomas, it wasn't about the guards or the ceremony anymore. It was all about the black stallion who had done something that defied explanation. Finally, there he was. Titan, just as majestic as before. The horse's eyes locked onto Thomas's, and in that moment, the world seemed to fade away. Titan stopped once again, bowing slowly, deliberately, as if acknowledging something only they understood. The crowd gasped in surprise, their murmurs growing louder. A young guard stepped forward, his voice tinged with confusion and curiosity. "Sir, do you know this horse?" he asked. Thomas, still trying to process what was happening, shook his head. "No," he said quietly, "but it seems like he knows me." The guard looked at him, puzzled. "Titan has never done this before," he said, clearly baffled. Thomas's heart raced. This wasn't a coincidence, and he could feel it deep inside. There was something special about Titan's behavior, something that couldn't be explained away. Determined to uncover the truth, Thomas asked the guard if he could meet with Titan after the ceremony. The guard hesitated, then nodded, clearly unsure of what was going on but willing to help. Thomas waited patiently outside the stables where the royal guard horses were kept. His legs ached, but he didn't care. He had to know why Titan had bowed to him, why this horse had recognized him in a way no one else could. When the guard returned, he led Thomas to Titan's stall. As Thomas approached, Titan's ears perked up. The horse recognized him immediately, and for the first time in days, Thomas felt a sense of peace wash over him. There was something deeper at play here, a bond beyond words, and Thomas was determined to uncover its roots. Thank you so much for watching this incredible story of respect and connection. Now, I want to hear from you. What did this moment mean to you? Do you believe that animals like Titan can sense something deeper in humans? Have you ever experienced a powerful, unexplainable connection with an animal or someone else? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing your stories, and it's amazing to see how these incredible experiences resonate with all of you. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an inspiring story like this one. We've got more powerful, emotional stories coming your way that will stay with you long after you watch. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us continue sharing these meaningful moments. Let's keep the conversation going. Share this video with someone who could use a reminder of the unspoken bonds we share with the world around us. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.